scam and illegal dances across our border, it is an act of aggression against this sovereign state, an overt act of terrorism.
Last week, Obama addressed the nation from El Paso, Texas. The subject, immigration policy. To be honest, I was relatively less appalled at what he had to say than usual. But let not your heart be troubled, I'm sure I can still find it in me to talk some shit, and provide some analysis in the process, of course. In his usual display of pomp and fanfare, the president laid out, if anything, a moderate to conservative roadmap for what he calls immigration reform. Of course, his speech was rife with contradiction, and the proposed actions don't address the real problems associated with illegal immigration. He started off on the right foot, pointing to the fact that immigrants in a free economy is what made America great. But then he went on to explain that his administration was hard at work to fix the immigration problem, with armed goons and flying robots. After all, he boasted, there are more boots on the ground on the southwest border than at any time in U.S. history. The fence is almost done, there's triple the amount of intelligence personnel, and he's, quote, deployed unmanned aerial vehicles to patrol the skies from Texas to California. He went on, in a fit of self-congratulatory bullshit, that, quote, for the first time we're screening 100% of all southbound rail shipments to seize guns and money from going south even as we go after drugs that are coming north. See, it's times like these when one doesn't know whether to be more insulted or more amused. I mean, if you've been paying attention, even a little bit, over the last few weeks, then you're aware of a new scandal, arguably on par with the Iran-Contra affair.
We have an extraordinary follow-up to the story that we broke last week, with allegations that ATF agents who are supposed to stop guns from crossing the border into Mexico were instead ordered to let them cross. There's a lot of internal dissent over this controversial tactic. Department of Justice and ATF have both denied that it ever happened. Both agencies say they would never intentionally let guns be sold into the hands of suspected gun runners. But we have evidence to the contrary. We have documentary evidence as well as testimony and interviews with agents who are actually involved.
John Dodson, a federal agent, says what he was asked to do was beyond belief.
You were intentionally letting guns go to Mexico.
Yes, ma'am. I mean, the agency was.
Agent Dodson and other insiders say the gun-walking strategy was approved all the way to the Justice Department. ATF named the case Fast and Furious.
Look, involvement in smuggling guns and drugs and money to bad guys is nothing new to the federal government. But as far as I'm concerned, a scandal of this magnitude should make Bill Clinton's blowjob look like bloopers from The Cosby Show.
Bill, could you give me that line again? No! I'm tired!
My point is that Obama's scapegoating of the issue on gun store owners and accolades on how well the government's doing to fix the problem is frankly offensive. It took audacity to hope that we would actually buy it. But I must commend Obama's decision to prosecute Arizona's new regime of checkpoints and police surveillance.
Show me your papers, now!
The Fourth Amendment to the Constitution reads as follows. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. And the color of someone's skin or the twang of their speech is not enough to be considered probable cause in a free republic. Even as a staunch supporter of the 10th Amendment and states' rights, I acknowledge that under the Constitution it's one of the few and explicit responsibilities of the federal government to deal with foreign countries and foreign nationals, and of course to enforce the Bill of Rights. So there you go, Obama, pat on the ass. But then, apropos of nothing, Obama tried to tie the following statement to illegal immigration.
Think about it. Over the past decade, even before the recession hit, middle-class families were struggling to get by as the costs went up for everything from health care to college tuition to groceries to gas. Their incomes didn't go up with those prices. We're seeing it again right now with gas prices.
Right. And old Uncle Empathy here has no culpability in the matter whatsoever. what with his money printing, oil wars, and guaranteed student loans. No, as usual, it was the, quote, unscrupulous businesses who skirt taxes and pay their workers less than the minimum wage. Ironic, considering that minimum wage is one of the real causes for illegal immigration. Look, considering all this brouhaha is over an imaginary line to differentiate some stolen land from some other stolen land, it's hard to take the whole debate seriously. But if we're going to get practical to solve the border problems, it would look something like this. First, drastically reduce the requirements for foreigners to work in America legitimately. Labor is just another resource in the marketplace, and to restrict its free flow is not only to infringe on individual liberty, but to artificially raise the cost of production. If it's easier to immigrate legally, we can expect less people to immigrate illegally. Second, end the welfare state, beginning with farm subsidies. On net, they don't lower cost, and they're a big cause of migrant labor. Because of the subsidies, Big Agri can sell food in Mexico cheaper than the cost to grow it there. Mexican farmers can't make any money farming in Mexico, so, impoverished, they come to America in search of work. Other than that, end domestic welfare. I'm sorry, Miss Jackson, but that's a baby and not a paycheck. Talk about an incentive. If you could leave a shithole rife with crime and squalor to get free handouts in another country, wouldn't you? I know I would, especially when the strip clubs accept food stamps. Third, end the war on drugs. Drug cartels and their corollary violence is probably the biggest problem with regard to the border. Ending the drug war and legalizing drugs would cut the problem off at the source, as success in the free market depends on people's ability to produce goods at the highest quality and the lowest price to cajole patrons into voluntary exchange. A cartel, on the other hand, relies on a different set of talents, namely the faculty for corruption, brutality, and figuring out how to either bribe or beat the government. If drugs were legalized and competition opened up, it wouldn't be long before American corporations put the cartels out of business. After all, when was the last time you saw a wine cartel or a liquor war? I'd say about 1933. Fourth, eliminate the minimum wage. Minimum wage laws create unemployment. It forces wages above market rates, and employers can't afford these arbitrary rates. So either the potential production is lost, or producers go under the table to make up the difference. And undocumented migrant workers have proven to be a plethora of that kind of black market labor. So in that way, it creates artificial demand and added incentive for, quote, illegal immigration. Finally, quit looking at Mexicans as a problem. God forbid a few of them defied the handiwork of an imperial cartographer. Well, now they're here, and anyone who wants to work harder than everyone, cheaper than everyone, is providing a public service. Don't believe it? Then get on your knees and start picking berries.
Wake up! Lamentablemente, las condiciones que estamos viviendo han llegado a ser una miseria insoportable para la gente. Pero hay unos vendepatrias ingreídos que todavía creen en una sociedad de antes, donde los artistas fuimos bestias de trabajo para la industria. Ese sueño se ha acabado y ahora nos encontramos despiertos en la hora de revolución, porque no podemos llamar esto un movimiento si toda la propiedad intelectual pertenece a los que nos oprimen. Nos compraron el alma barata.
What's up, you an American citizen?
Are you a U.S. citizen?
Are you an American citizen?
Yes, sir.
Do you have an ID on you?
No, sir.
You got an ID? Let me see your ID.
What's that?
How to make sure you're an American citizen.
Are you both U.S. citizens?
You got an ID on you?
Do you?
Where you been today?
Go ahead and go, sir.
Where you heading to?
Go ahead.
Where you heading to?